Hi, this is Rich Eiler with the NorthPoint Group. Today I'm going to spend 10 to 15 minutes describing how one of the NorthPoint solutions, in this case IT360, can be used to maximize the value delivered by the IT function. Remember, increasing value can come in many ways: insourcing, outsourcing, or shared services. Significant dollars have and will continue to be spent on technology to improve the performance of the enterprise and enhance relationships with customers and suppliers. Obviously, anytime significant funds are spent in an area of the business, leadership wants to make sure that the dollars are providing the expected return on that investment. Therefore, the leadership is looking to obtain answers to questions such as the following. Does IT have as its strategy the mission to ensure effective and efficient processes to accurately and on a timely basis deliver the data, information, and knowledge required to improve the enterprise performance? For most CIOs, this is not an easy question to answer. What is the process to identify the unmet business needs of required critical knowledge? Does the enterprise have what we call KEP, which is the knowledge, experience, and performance to deliver the required business intelligence internally as well as externally? Are there key metrics and measurements that are accurately collected and reported to the management team? IT 360 can provide the answers to these questions and more in a one-day session with the key stakeholders. When looking at any functional area, including IT, one must look at the risks to performance as well as the business opportunities that aren't being taken advantage of. To accomplish this, the key stakeholders, in this case IT and the business leaders, are facilitated through a series of statements, 300 plus in fact, that contain the fundamental business activities and the supporting steps, tasks, and processes that have a direct impact on the ability of the IT organization to provide the required support to the entire business. The key stakeholders are required to score 300 plus weighted statements covering 57 different areas within IT on a consensus basis. The statements are prescriptive in nature. Remember, they include the fundamental business activities and the supporting steps, tasks, and processes, while the weightings of each statement enable the output to be predictive. Once the scored statements are compared to the best-in-class database of prior assessments, the output provides a prescriptive and predictive roadmap. In addition, the process identifies the unmet and unidentified data, information, and knowledge of what is required to achieve success. Expectations from the process, the software, and the database include identifying the data and knowledge deficits, improving the speed of decision making, anywhere from 28.4 to 56+%, improving the accuracy of the decision making process, on average better than 61%, identifying the critical missing capacities, identifying solutions for the areas of improvement, best use of company assets, once again, insourcing, outsourcing, shared services, improving the information deployment, improving the information collaboration, improving the business processes, measuring the impact on the enterprise, measuring the progress of the enterprise due to technology. Let's talk specifics on improvements. The process works like this. An assessment is performed and the areas of improvement are defined, and the teams are commissioned to perform the improvement activities. The teams report back to the key stakeholders that were in the session. This group is usually organized as a program management office. And then approximately 90 days later, the key stakeholders are gathered again and the software is used to assess the IT function, again to identify new risks, new areas of improvement in the areas where the teams have been working. In these examples, you can see the impact of the improvement in the following areas. Enterprise. So, assessment score 1, 2, and 3. As you look across, you can see the cumulative impact on performance. Enterprise performance, IT performance, security, business process, the perceived value of IT, and the impact on headcount and labor cost. At the bottom, you can see the average score from the first session to the second to the third. And then to the right of that, you can see typically where the improvements are with the largest ROIs based on this experience. There are 57 areas covered by the IT product. Extremely comprehensive. As you can see, the process for identifying the required standards, regardless whether it's COBIT, ISO, CMMI, these are all built into the solution. Now, a quick overview of the principles behind the process and the process itself. The principles. If the organization knows of all the required steps, tasks, and processes and executes them well, then they can achieve a higher ROI on that IT investment. Risk occurs when an organization is not aware of all the required steps, tasks, and processes and or does not have the necessary CAP knowledge, experience, and performance to execute them. Success requires the right CAP at the right time. The process. A value risk assessment session, what we call a VRA. Key stakeholders analyze and score statements comprised of the fundamental business activities as well as the supporting steps, tasks, and processes. Stakeholder alignment through facilitator-led consensus scoring for each of the FBAs and STPs. Facilitator support captures key discussion points and issues. Analytics created by comparing the scored statements against best-in-class database, which leads to the completion of the management report. The value risk solution session. It's a facilitated session with key stakeholders, usually less than a day, to develop the action plan and solutions from the assessment results, provide the buy-in and follow-through across the organization. And then finally, the ability to execute and monitor the risk and value mitigation plan. Once again, can be run at whatever time frames are appropriate for the organization. So, what this slide shows is a sample statement. That sample statement is in white. IT has the CAP in its management technology teams to select the most effective set of software and hardware technologies that provide the opportunity for the business leadership to achieve best-in-class performance. The scoring scale is at the lower right-hand bottom box. You can see from -4 to +4. You can see the percentages associated with that. Now, there's an architecture associated with the actual software and the sequence of the statements. This is not a checklist of FBAs and STPs. The process and statements are orchestrated to uncover the issues and opportunities and for the participants to learn as they go through that process. When we say a U, starting on the left-hand side, you're going to start with strategy statements, then get into the detail, and you finish up on the right-hand side of the U by going through similar strategy statements that are typically scored very differently based on the learnings of the key stakeholders in the session. So here's some example output indexes. This comes from the value risk solution session. Remember, the key stakeholder team reconvenes and reviews the assessment output to identify the areas of greatest opportunities for improvement and risk by looking at the highest level indices. These are the highest level. CAP, IT, business process, business index, security index. The assessment calculates a number of these indexes to provide an accurate indication of performance. Now, let me drop to another level of detail. The stakeholder team reviews the assessment output at the fundamental business activity level to identify areas with significant performance issues. This is a level of detail underneath business process security, the indexes we saw on the prior slide. The performance profile identifies an IT organization's baseline and compares the delivery process of an IT organization against best in class, once again, using NorthPoint's database. You can see the score, best in class, and the performance profile, once again, at the fundamental business activity level. Now, another level of detail. For each of the major areas assessed, once again, this is the component level, or in this case, the fundamental business activity, there's a detailed statement with the team's score of the related steps, tasks, and processes that support that. So, left-hand side, the fundamental business activity level, right-hand side, an example of some of the statements that would be underneath where the arrow is pointing. Team scoring of the steps, tasks, and processes is the input to the performance profile score that we saw. The lowest performance profile scores may indicate areas with the most significant ROIs for improvements. In the example provided, you can see at the bottom, moving the performance profile for the one we identified, which is at 69.26%, to the midpoint of best in class, provides the opportunity for approximately 28 to 29% return on investment. The team can now identify the prescriptive improvements required to improve performance for each step, task, and process. Leaders are identified to address the areas of low performance, the steps, tasks, and processes in conjunction with the notes recorded from the software from the facilitated session. So, scoring of the statements and any relevant points that needed to be captured. This provides the knowledge required to commission the teams. Now, the risk value plan is executed. The teams report regularly on progress, measure what and how well the teams have performed. The IT 360 process can be executed numerous times to capture accurate progress, identify additional ROI opportunities. New value is implemented and risks are mitigated. Value of the process. Research has shown that organizations have well over 100% of the data available for business decisions, but only 40% or 47% of the knowledge available. NorthPoint has demonstrated that through the assessment process, the available knowledge required can be increased to 77%, allowing business decisions to be made with precision. The process also identifies opportunities for capital reduction, outsourcing, cloud, etc. IT cost reduction, 23% in labor costs, and overhead cost reductions in the business. Provides for the improvement in enterprise performance, cumulative 31%. Improvement in IT performance, cumulative 23%. Improvement in security, cumulative 58%, which is made up of application implementation, application integration, application testing, identifying critical missing business knowledge. Improvement in enterprise ROI, cumulative 38%. Improvement in time to market by 37% over 8 months due to having resilient business processes. Additionally, the collaborative process provides buy-in and follow-through on the assessment recommendations. Knowledge became shared and valued once the process was initiated. The FBAs and STPs provide the analytics for managing IT with the business, creates the environment for improvement, identifies the value propositions that were important to the business, and what the internal buying criteria of those internal and external customers. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, please go to the website, www.thenorthpointgroup.net, or contact any of the people that are listed.